Okay, we're going to talk about job order costing, just some things about how it works. So we talked about, in prior videos, we talked about how I have three different types of inventory. I have my materials inventory, my work in process inventory, and my finished goods inventory, and how everything moves basically through, starting with materials and into work in process and into finished goods. Job order costing is simply a method that we use to keep track of things and group things together. So for example, if I'm a guitar manufacturer, I might have 100 units of a certain model that I'm going to make, and that could be one job. Or if I'm a furniture manufacturer, I could have, 500 units of a particular bookshelf that I'm going to make, and that could be one job. So how that works effectively is that we group them together in a job order cost sheet, and it just kind of moves through this entire system. So just as before, we still have materials, and we have our beginning inventory and things that come in, and then we have materials requisitioned. Materials requisition, remember, goes into my job order, goes into my work in process. But specifically what I will do is when materials are requisitioned, direct materials especially, I will separate out those materials by individual job. So I won't just say, okay, this is all the materials that left my raw materials inventory for the month. Instead, I'll say, okay, $10,000 worth of materials went to job 71 and 15,000 went to job 72, or whatever the numbers are. So like, for example, let's say that I am building guitars and I've got job 71 and job 72. If I have materials requisition forms, and one of them requisitions, job 71 requisitions $2,000 worth of materials, and it would go under job 71, and job 72 requisitions $11,000 worth of materials. Then it goes in the direct materials under job 72. And what I'm effectively going to do is I'm going to keep track of all these things, and then that will end up being my total product cost here in my work in process inventory once it's finished. Once it's finished, then it would go to cost of goods manufactured, then eventually over to cost of goods sold. So in this case, now the other thing that can happen is what happens if job 71 was already being completed before, or had already been started, before this time frame, had happened. So there can be balances. In the example that we're looking at here, in the chapter 16, there is a beginning balance to job 71. So they had already done $11,000 worth of work, or put $11,000 worth of materials into job 71. Okay, so as we go along, we just continue to keep track. So the next thing is direct labor. Well, I would use time tickets. I'll go back to my vocabulary here. I'm creating a job order cost sheet, what I'm creating right now. We would use time tickets to figure out how much work had been done for each job. And effectively, when people were working in the factory, they would not only record the amount of time they worked, they would specifically record how much time they're working on job 71 versus job 72 versus job 73 or 4 or 5 or whatever the job is. So you'd keep track of that, because that is a product cost. That direct labor is a product cost. So I would go look at those time tickets and say, okay, the total amount of time spent for job 71 was a certain number of hours at a given rate, and that ends up being $30,500 worth of direct labor. Job 72 was again a certain number of hours at a certain rate, and the total of all the time tickets when I went and looked at it was $7,500. So now I'm getting to the point where I've got my direct materials, my direct labor, and then now all I need is my factory overhead to complete this work in process. And then once it's done, it's going to go to finished goods. Now, how do I find my overhead? This is a new subject, so I'm going to stop the video here and talk about this in a new video, but we used what's called a predetermined overhead rate, and we'll talk about how to calculate that and how that works in the next video.